Hello. Right, where's everybody at? There's Ori. Where's our other sisters at? Where's Ebony? Where's anybody? There's Fancy Lou Who. How's everybody doing? It's raining here. Ooh, that onion ain't liking me, Audrey. That onion ain't liking me at all. Oh no, my darling. Okay, you're saying he was hit. Does that mean he's hurt? Hey, Ebony. Fancy, is he hurt or is it worse? Oh, I hate to ask. Ebony, you little hoochie mama, you writing this stuff. Okay, good, Fancy. Ebony, what you mean writing all this sexy stuff? You're supposed to be my PG girl. What am I gonna do with you? Okay, it's broken, but be okay. So, do we need to go kick some butt? We need to open up a can of whoop ass on Texas boy. Because this Georgia girl will do it. Oh, I was on a drive too far. Oh, you can't even tell what color my hair is. Get that light up. I got a new light for in here. I just got to get it up. Ebony, is this you on the front? This sexy lacy number on the front. Ooh, ooh la la. International best-selling author. Whoop, 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 whoop. Y'all about ready to get started? Might need a hot. I might be wrong on this, y'all. We might need our hot flash kits. Depends on how far I get into it. Yeah, we'll see how far I get into it. You guys might need a hot flash kit to read this one. Yeah, we don't normally say that when Miss Ebony's up to bat, but yeah, this is one of them sex shop series books. And so Miss Ebony got a little bad girl in her now. Bad girl going on. Y'all ready to see this? Look at that cover. Look at that cover. See if we can make Miss Ebony blush tonight. Damn best friends get you in trouble all the time, don't they, Ebony? Tessa's First Glass Beads, a sex shop novella. Oh. I don't think I've ever read anything dirty by you, Miss Ebony. Dang, yours are always so wholesome. I'd let my grandma read them. Maybe, yeah. All right, so let's get this show on the road. I think I can read better from back here. Chapter 1. I quit. I said as I slammed the phone down into the cradle and looked around the busy call center. She has a phone, a cradle phone? At a call center? It's what I wear. If I had to hold the phone up all day, I'd be in trouble. But it does take away from the slamming the phone down, because there's many times I wish I could slam the phone down. A few heads popped up over the gray partitions with questioning looks on their faces. Yeah, we do that all the time too. I had just taken my last 911 call of my career. There was something about being the one on the other end of the line when everything was going wrong. It was draining the life out of me, and I was ready to live. I was only 28 years old, but felt like I had lived the life of a 70-year-old woman. I took this job as a volunteer position my junior year in high school and have been answering the phones for the past 10 years. Tessa, come into my office and let's talk about this, my supervisor, Sherlyn, said with an uneasy look on her face. The tiredness in her voice came with running this place for the last 15 years and working the phones the prior 10. Sherlyn McCook, am I saying her name right, Sherlyn? McCook had dedicated her entire life to being the calming voice of reason when things went bad. She was there for all of us when the job became too much. With a level head and a soothing voice, she made sure that we were able to do our job and help those who reached out for a saving hand. Standing up from the... I need... Sorry. I need a better pair of glasses. These are so filthy. Either that or one of my cloths, which, of course, are nowhere to be found. Oh, there's one. Standing up from the now uncomfortable chair, I started to make my way toward Sherlyn's office. My work bestie, Monique, reached out a hand and grabbed me as I walked past her desk. Drinks later? She asked with a worried look on her face. Looking down at her rounded belly. Sweet tea and donuts. I gave her a wink and pulled my arm out of her grip. She was a good woman and always had your back if you needed it. Pregnant with her third baby, I didn't know she was able to keep her sanity in this place. There was so much sadness and worry here. I know if it were me in her shoes, I would probably go into early labor from all the high stress calls. Walking into Sherlyn's office, I took a deep breath as I made my way over to the soft chair directly across from her. Sitting down slowly in the chair, I know what you're going to say, I started. You have no idea what I'm going to say, my boss said as she leaned back into her own chair. Her kind brown eyes were looking at me, and I could not only see, but I could also feel her tiredness. Taking a deep breath as she leaned forward and rested her hands on her desk. Tessa, I know that you are tired. I know that the last few calls that you've taken have been really hard for you. You have no idea, I interrupted without thinking about who I was talking to. Sherlyn has seen so much more than I have during her career. You have no idea what I have seen here, Sherlyn said defensively as she straightened up in her chair. I have taken calls that no one should ever have to hear, and they still haunt me to this day. I didn't mean any disrespect. I started and instantly shut my mouth when I saw the tear roll down Sherlyn's face. Wiping the tear away. I know that. This job is a lot, and not everyone is built to do it. Tessa, you are built to do this. I have watched you over the years and have hoped that you would take my place when I retire next year. You're retiring? I spit out, not believing the words that were coming out of Sherlyn's mouth. I have been doing this for a long time, and I think it's time for me to pass the torch. Sorry, I don't know if this is Southern or not, but I just feel it just feels Southern to me. I don't know. It's just turning around and looking around the brightly lit room to make sure there was no one else in there. I took a deep breath. I am not the one. There is just too much sadness here, and it is eating me alive. I know that this was not the response that she wanted, but it was all that I had to give. I couldn't prepare. I couldn't prepare. Let me make words up here. I couldn't pretend that I wanted what was being offered when all I really wanted was to walk out of the office doors and never come back. If you are serious about quitting, I will accept your resignation with a heavy heart, Sherlyn said with a sigh. I don't want you to think that I am quitting, I started. You're doing what I wanted to do many times, she admitted as she looked down at a picture of the two of us that has sat next to her computer screen for the past 2 years. I was standing next to her, smiling, wearing an ugly sweater at the annual holiday party, and she was dressed as Santa. We were having the time of our lives while the second shift manned the phones. What is next for you? I don't know yet, I admitted as I stole another glance at the picture. The memories came flooding back, and I couldn't help the smile that spread across my face. If you change your mind, you will always have a job to come back to. The sincerity in Sherlyn's voice was almost too much for me to take. Thank you for everything. It will be nice to not have the horrors of this place following me home anymore. Thank you for your service, Sherlyn said as she looked up at me. There was a tear in her eye, and I was so sorry for doing this to her. Standing up from the chair, thank you for all that you've done for me. I just really need a fresh start. Will you at least finish your shift? I don't have anyone to cover for you. I can't take another call. I just dispatched an ambulance to Miss Ada's place. Taking a deep breath, I wish you well, Tessa. Thank you for everything, I said as I turned around and made my way out of Sherlyn's office. Walking back to my cubicle, I felt the weight of the job melt away with each step that I took. Gathering up my things and taking one last look at my workstation, I took one more deep breath before heading toward the main door. Tessa! My best friend Kennedy called out as I made my way into the Yellow Lemon. She was sitting at a small booth in the corner nursing her favorite hurricane drink. The one thing missing was our friend Shay. I kicked myself for not calling and telling her to meet us. I knew that I would never hear the end of it. Taking my jacket off, I walked quickly to her table, trying to let go of some of the stress from the day. I gave my shoulders a quick shrug. What's up? I asked as I slid into the empty seat across from her and laid my belongings down next to me. I thought we were going to meet at V Sweet Treats. I've been craving some old-fashioned donuts today. Well, let's see, I got to get this one right. Well, when I heard the news that you quit your job at the call center, I figured that we would need something a little stronger than Miss V Sweet Tea. Did you call Shay? Is she running late? Fair enough. I forgot to call her. It's too much going on. I will make sure to catch her up later, I said as I raised my hand to signal the new bartender over to her table to take my drink order. Who is the hottie behind the bar? I haven't seen him here before. That's Rob Knight. He is Miss Maybell's cousin from Ruby. Kennedy said as she licked her lips. I'm the hottie behind the bar. I couldn't deny the tingle between my legs. Ebony? Fidgeting in my seat and trying to cross my legs without kicking Kennedy under the table, I couldn't tear my eyes away from the bartender. He was the sexiest man that I had ever laid eyes on. His deep chocolate skin radiated sex appeal. In the dim lighting of the club, I noticed the tattoos that were peeking out from behind his crisp white t-shirt. I was dying to know what the full design was. His long brown dreadlocks were tied up in a messy bun on the top of his head, and his brown eyes clearly had some naughty secrets behind them. I got somebody in mind I'm picturing right now. When he caught me staring at him, he flashed me a bright smile and teased me with the tip of his tongue. I couldn't stop my mind from running away to naughty thoughts of what he could do with that tongue of his. Tessa, Earth the Tessa, Kennedy called out as she tossed the small straw from her drink across the table at me. Snapping out of my wild thoughts, I looked at my friend. What was that for? Excuse me, ladies. A smooth voice sounded, causing the fine hairs on my arms to stand straight up. Whipping my head around and looking up at the fine, sexy chocolate hunk from behind the bar. Now I'm craving a Hershey bar. My breath caught in my throat. Are you okay? He quickly asked as I struggled to catch my breath. I'm fine, tumbled from my mouth as I silently breathed a sigh of relief. I was so glad that my actual words came out instead of the gibberish that was running through my head. Hearing Kennedy laughing at me, I turned my head and gave her a death stare. What can I get you to drink? He asked, demanding my attention returned to him. Can I have another hurricane? Kennedy butted in. For you? He asked as he gently touched my shoulder. Letting my eyes fall closed to fully embrace the jolt of electricity that his touch caused. Can I have a Jamaican cowboy? The hell is that Jamaican cowboy? I ain't never heard that one. Vincy, somebody gonna have to look that one up. We might need us some Jamaican cowboys, y'all. Somehow I think that might have some rum in it, though. Coming right up, ladies, he said as he removed his hand from my shoulder. Turning to head back to the bar, he paused and turned back to face me. My name is Rob, and I hope to get to know you a bit more. Last call, Rob called out as the house lights in the bar came on. The singer up on the stage took his final bow and left the stage. Are you good to drive? Kennedy asked as I tried to stand up but failed. The question is, are you okay to drive? I responded with a chuckle. Letting my eyes wander over to the bar, my eyes locked on to Rob, and I couldn't help the smile that pulled at my lips. Tessa, Kennedy called out, forcing me to tear my gaze and attention from Rob. I didn't drive here, I walked, I admitted as I watched the panic spread across Kennedy's face. I'm in no condition to walk, let alone drive. I can call you a cab. Rob's smooth voice butted into our conversation. Bless your kind heart, Kennedy slurred as she tried and failed to wink at Rob. I could see her doing this. Bless your kind heart. I couldn't take my giggle that had to keep from coming out. Candy was making a fool of herself and was going to be kicking herself when her faculties returned to her. Thank you, Mr. Knight. I really appreciate your assistance. I was so thankful that I cut myself after 2 drinks and switched to soda. Not a problem, he said as he made his way back to the bar and grabbed the cordless phone from beneath the bar. After he was done with his quick call, he made his way back to our table. I couldn't help but overhear that you had plans on walking home. Please let me escort you and make sure that you will get home safely. Kicking me under the table. Thank you for taking such good care of us tonight, Candy said with a sloppy smile on her face. Turning my gaze to Rob. You really don't have to. Only live 2 blocks away. I hoped he would let this go because I didn't want to have to convince him that I didn't want his company. Standing up from my seat, I started to gather up my belongings and waited for Kennedy to do the same. Your ride will be here in a few minutes. Joe said that it was a slow night and he could be here real fast. Rob informed Kennedy, watching her try to stand up. I dropped my belongings and helped her. Maybe I had a little too much to drink, she slurred as she wobbled from side to side as she stood up with my assistance. Just a little bit, I teased as Rob rushed to her free side and helped steady her. Let me help get her outside. I think some fresh air would help her, he said with a wink. Those looks he kept tossing in my direction were going to be my undoing. He was so sexy, and I couldn't deny the attraction that I was feeling toward him. Thank you, I whispered as he started guiding Kennedy toward the door. No problem, he replied as he took a slow step together with Kennedy holding on to both of us for dear life. I don't think I feel so good, Kennedy moaned as she reached the door. Opening the door and stepping outside, the cool night's air was a welcomed addition. You are going to be just fine, I soothed as I stroked her long brown hair. I think your car is here, Rob informed us as his set of headlights started to slow down in front of us. Thank you. You really are a knight in shining armor, Kennedy slurred as the door to the cab opened up and our friend Joe stepped out. I'll get her home safely, he informed us as he took Kennedy's hand and led her to the waiting cab. I will call you in the morning, Ken, I called out as she slid into the back seat of Joe's cab. It will be extra if she gets sick in my car, Joe called out as he got back into the driver's seat. I will take care of it, Rob said with a wave, turning to look at him. Thank you for this. You didn't have to do all this for us. I would have made sure that she got home safely, I said as I let the cool air hit my skin. It's part of the job, he informed me as he made his way back inside the club, stopping to hold the door open for me. You coming? Well, I can't leave my stuff here, I said with a wink as I made my way back into the club. Bethany, you naughty little girl. We do what? Chapter 3. Ebony, I'm going to have to read more than 3 chapters. We're going to be done here in 5 minutes if I don't. Is that possible? I haven't seen you here before tonight. How long have you been in Allenville? I asked Rob as he walked with me the short distance from the club to my apartment. I'm no stranger to the Yellow Lemon. I've helped out behind the bar on occasion over the past 2 years. I have never seen you here before, I said, as I stopped in the middle of the empty sidewalk and turned to look at him in the moonlight. I've seen you plenty of times, he admitted, as he stopped and returned my gaze. What does that even mean? I asked with my serious voice, the one that I saved for the office or my parents. It means that I've seen you before. You were usually with Kennedy and another young lady, he explained. I couldn't help but notice the way the stars reflected in his chocolate brown eyes, or the way the moonlight reflected off his white teeth when he opened his mouth. Shay, I said as I continued to stare at him. I couldn't take my eyes off him. The more time I spent with him, the more comfortable I felt. There was something about Mr. Rob Knight that just felt right to me. Excuse me? He asked. My other friend's name is Shay. We are usually a threesome, but after the day that I had, I forgot to call her and invite her. That bad? Rob asked as he took a seat on the bench that we just happened to be standing in front of. What are you doing? I asked, looking at him as if he had two heads. What does it look like? I'm sitting down and hoping that you will sit with me for a few minutes. I'm not ready for this night to end. Patting the empty seat next to him, he waited for my response. Sitting next to him, I turned to look up at him. Is it after 1 in the morning? I said. From what I heard, you don't have any place to be tomorrow, and I have a feeling that Kennedy will not be up until at least noon. The smile on his face was contagious, and I couldn't help but let down my guard and start to enjoy his company. You win, I said as I returned his smile, turning so that his body was facing mine. It is nice to meet you, Tessa. Following his lead and turning my body to face him, it is nice to meet you too, Rob. I know that this may sound a bit forward, but can I see you again? He asked as the silence of the night settled in around us. Are you in a rush to get home? I asked, not knowing where my sudden boldness was coming from. Not at all, he said as a fresh smile. He said with a fresh smile as he leaned back and tilted his head up toward the sky. I got tongue-tied because I am picturing this hot, sexy, god dang, what a Hershey piece of chocolate I need. Guys to work with, and of course. So is that yes on me reading more past chapter 3? Because then we'll be done here in just a second, if not. Kennedy mentioned that you are Miss Maybell's cousin. Well, actually, she's my mother's cousin, he clarified. Oh, so you are her cousin. I couldn't help the sarcasm that dripped from my voice or the smile that pulled at my lips. Fine, you win. I am her cousin. He relented as he turned his gaze to me. Are you liking it in Allenville? I asked, trying to change the subject. I like it a lot better now. He replied, the tone of his voice changed from playful to sexy, and I couldn't deny the spark that I felt run through me. Shifting in my seat to put some distance between us, I averted my gaze up to the stars that dotted the sky above our heads. Where are you staying? I'm using Maybell's apartment above the club. So you're planning on staying here in Allenville? I asked, hoping that he didn't pick up the excitement in my voice. Between you and me, Maybell isn't feeling 100%. I think running the club is starting to get to be too much for her. She isn't as young as she thinks she is anymore. Is she going to be okay? I asked. If she listens to her doctor and slows down, she will be just fine. I'm here to make sure that she does, Rob informed me. Thank you, I said quietly as I turned my gaze to him. She has been such an important part of my life since as long as I can remember. I don't know what I would do if anything happened to her. I promise that I will do all that I can to make sure that nothing happens to her. Grabbing my hand off the bench, Rob brought it to his lips and placed a gentle kiss across my knuckles. Turning my head slightly, I gently pulled my hand away. It's getting late. Maybe we should call it a night, I said as I started to gather up my belongings. Wait, did I do something wrong? Rob asked as he jumped up to help me. No, I admitted. I just had a long day and it finally hit me. Can I see you again? He asked gently as he handed me my work bag. I like that, I admitted as I stood up and started to walk toward my apartment. Come back to the club tomorrow night. I'm not working, so we can actually get to know each other, he suggested. Why don't we do lunch? It will be quieter and we can actually talk, I countered. That works too, he said with a smile as he walked across the street with me. Well, this is me, I said as we reached my apartment. You weren't lying when you said that you were close to the club. The smile that he flashed me was contagious, and I couldn't help returning the simple gesture. Thank you for making sure that Kenny and I got home safely, I said as I made my way up to the front steps. Stopping on the top step and turning to look at Rob, I searched in my bag for my keys. Finding them a little too quickly for my liking, I turned to quickly unlock my front door. Do you want me to pick you up for lunch? Turning back around to see him, why don't we just meet at V's Sweet Treats? How about you let me take you to the diner for Miss Honey's famous fried chicken? I couldn't stop my empty stomach from growling at the mention of Miss Honey's famous fried chicken. It's a date, I said as I pushed my front door open with my foot. How does 11:30 sound? I will be there, I said as I turned around and walked into my dark apartment. Tessa, Rob called out before I shut the door behind me. Yes, I whispered loudly, hoping not to wake up the whole block. It was nice to meet you tonight. It was nice meeting you too, I said as he turned and started making his way back to the club. Chapter 4. Tell me last night didn't actually happen, Kennedy groaned into the phone. Okay, I won't tell you that it happened, I teased as I tossed another shirt on the floor of my closet. Nothing that I had pulled out seemed appropriate for my lunch date with sexy Rob Knight. Giving up the search for a fun and cute outfit, I plopped down on my bed. Hey, Kenny, do you have something I can borrow for a lunch date? Hold the phone, Candy screamed into the phone. What did I miss? Instantly regretting my decision to let her know about my plans. Nothing major. After Rob put you into a cab last night, he walked me home. So, how does him walking you home translate into you needing to borrow clothes for a date today? Kennedy asked. I knew that she wasn't going to let me off the hook. You know what? I think we need to get Shay on the line for this. No, there is nothing to tell yet. She's already going to be pissed at me for not including her in last night's drinks, I pleaded. There really wasn't anything to tell yet. Fine, Kennedy huffed. I have the perfect outfit for you. I'm on my way, I said as I jumped off my bed and made my way to the front of my apartment to grab my handbag. Can you stop by Wilson's General Store and grab me some aspirin? Kennedy quietly asked. I knew that she had to have a raging headache after all the alcohol that she put away last night. I was actually surprised that she was up and functioning this early in the day. I'll even stop and pick up some coffee from V's Sweet Treats, I said as I made my way out of the apartment. Bless you, Kennedy breathed out before she disconnected the line. Kenny, are you awake? I called out as I let myself into Kennedy's apartment with my arms full with bags from V's Sweet Treats. I kicked her front door closed with my foot as I walked into her warm apple-scented living room. I couldn't help the smile that spread across my face at the overwhelming quiet. I used to scent my house up with apple. I haven't done that in years. Kennedy clearly had too much to drink last night, was probably back in dreamland. Stopping in her dark kitchen, I dropped the bags filled with food under the counter and then made my way over to the window. Pulling her homemade curtains back, I let the sunlight filter in and brighten up the large room. She lucked out when this apartment became available. The large kitchen with the state-of-the-art appliances and large windows are enough to make anyone jealous. Looking around, I noticed that nothing was out of place. The sink was empty and all the dishes were tucked away in the cabinets. No leftover food could be seen, and the granite countertops were sparkling in the sunlight. Chuckling to myself, No matter what is going on in her world, I can always count on her house being clean. Lord, not mine. I got better things to do than clean, like reading. Walking through the clean and now bright room, I entered the dark hallway and made my way to her closed bedroom. Knocking lightly, I waited for her to growl at me to go away. When I got nothing, I quietly pushed her door open and walked into the pitch dark room. Kenny, are you awake? Are you okay? I asked as I continued into the room. Close the door, she growled from underneath her handmade purple and pink quilt. Not bothering to peek her head out from underneath the covers, she turned over. You okay? I asked, trying to contain the laugh that I wanted so desperately to escape my throat. Stepping deeper into the room, the smell of vomit assaulted me. I left the door open to air it out a bit, sitting up in the bed and letting the blanket drop to the floor. I am never drinking again. Famous last words. I knew that she was lying. I gave her 2 days before we were back at the Yellow Lemon, listening to music, watching the sexy Rob Knight, and drinking our sorrows away. I've heard that before, I sassed as I sat on the corner of Kennedy's bed. Shut up, Kennedy spit out as she reached out for the bottle of water resting on her nightstand. So, how did your night go after I got sent home? No one sent you home, I reminded her, standing up from the bed. I walked around the room and pulled the curtains apart to let some sunlight in. No! Keep them closed, Candy begged as she shielded her eyes from the invading sunlight. Pulling the curtains back closed, I'm sorry. Walking back to her bed, I reclaimed my seat. My head is killing me, and the room feels like it's spinning. God, that's the worst. Kennedy admitted as she placed the now empty water bottle back on the nightstand, focusing her attention on me. Did you really quit your job? Taking a deep breath and letting my eyes close. Yes, I took the plunge and walked away from my career as a 911 phone operator. So, what's next? I have no idea, I admitted as I turned away from my best friend and looked around the dark room. Can we start with some food? I am starving, she informed me. Oh, gosh. Oh, when I'm like that, food is the last thing I want. Unless it's pizza. Then I'll eat some pizza, she informed me as she slowly stood up from the bed. Can we clean your room first? It smells in here. We just have to grab the trash. I was able to make it to the can. The giggle that came from Candy told me that she was starting to feel a little better. Okay, last chapter. I'm not going to overdo it. Chapter 5. So, what are you going to do with yourself? Kennedy asked as we sat on her couch, reaching out and grabbing a donut out of the bag that was sitting on the coffee table in front of us. I turned to look at Kennedy. I have no idea, I admitted as I started gripping the donut into small pieces. Picking up her cup of coffee from the end table directly next to her, Kennedy kept her eyes trained on me. Hear me out, she started. I am not getting involved in one of your crazy schemes, I interrupted her as I turned my body to face my best friend. I think I will take a few days to just breathe and then start looking for a new job. Have you ever considered going into business for yourself? Candy asked as she took a sip of her coffee, savoring the flavor of the warm beverage. Her head leaned back and a smile started spreading across her face. What kind of business are you thinking about? I asked, my curiosity piqued. Retail, Candy said quickly, taking another sip of her coffee. She looked at me with hopeful eyes. The look on her face reminded me of a young child who wanted something but was afraid to ask for it. I'm going to need a little bit more detail, I said as I turned to look at my best friend. I knew that she was up to something, and I had no idea what it was. Putting down her cup of coffee that she was sipping. Let's go shopping. Let's go shopping. There's a new shop in Ruby that I think you would get a kick out of. You can't just change the subject like you did and just suggest I go into business for myself. Standing up from the couch and looking down at me. Help me pick out something to wear. We are going shopping. The demanding tone of her voice told me that I really didn't have a say in the matter. Shouldn't I be trying to save money? I asked. I clearly needed to try and talk some sense into her. I don't have a job anymore. Whose fault is that? No one told you to up and quit your job, Kennedy sassed as she waited for me to get up and follow her back to her room. Taking a deep breath, I slowly stood up. Seeing the smile on her face, I knew that nothing good was going to come from whatever she had planned for the day. Are you sure that you're feeling up to going out today? I asked, hoping that she would reconsider whatever crazy scheme she was brewing in her pretty little head. I feel fine, she informed me as she walked into her room and headed straight to the closet. Pulling out a pair of jeans and tossing them to the bed, she turned to watch me as I plopped down in the chair next to the window. I was thinking jeans and a t-shirt. What? I asked, not knowing what she was talking about. For today. I mean, we're only going over to Ruby. There is nothing too special over there. No need to get all dressed up. Looking over at me, Kennedy winked as she pulled out a t-shirt and tossed it over to the bed as well. Do I look okay for whatever you have planned? I asked. I had chosen a pair of leggings and my favorite Hootie and the Blowfish t-shirt. You look fine, she informed me as she made her way into the bathroom to get changed. Turning to look back at me, I'll be ready in 10. Promise me that you will keep an open mind. You're scaring me, I admitted as I watched the smile spread across her face. When have I ever done anything that would cause you any harm? Kennedy asked as she took a step into the bathroom and closed the door behind her. Do you really want me to answer that? I mumbled as thoughts of my being arrested for whatever craziness she had planned on ran through my head. Oh. I'm not gonna read the whole chapter 6, but I gotta get the hook set. We're here, Kennedy informed me as she pulled into the parking lot of a small building with a neon rabbit above the front door. Turning to look at me as she undid her seatbelt. Remember, you promised to keep an open mind. Opening the door and climbing out of the car, Kennedy waited for me to follow her lead. Taking a deep breath, I unbuckled my seatbelt and reached down to grab my pocketbook from the floor. Opening the door, I instantly regretted my wardrobe choice. The sun was shining bright, but there was a chill in the air that wasn't there 15 minutes ago when we left Kennedy's apartment. What the hell is this place? I asked, not really sure if I should be here. I had lived in Allenville, right next to the town of Ruby, my entire life, and knew everything about this town, all the shops, the mall, and places to eat. Ruby was just like Allenville with the same small town charm, but was built up to a little bit more. It shared the same lake with Allenville, but was more of a tourist town. Looking at the building, I noticed that there was no sign with a name on it, just the neon pink rabbit that was perched on the top of the building. I also noticed that there was really nothing else around us. We were in a pretty busy area of town, but there was nothing else close by. I had been here before many times when I was in high school, but it was always empty. I used to come here after school dances or on the weekend to be alone with whoever I was seeing. This building was adjoining parking lot was brand new. Where are we? I asked Kennedy, knowing that she wasn't going to be any help by the now full-blown smile that was glued to her face. Do you have your ID on you? She asked with a giggle. Do you have your ID on you? She asked with a giggle as she pressed a button on her keychain. Her car instantly chirped, signaling that it was now locked. Of course I have my ID on me. I don't go anywhere without it. Calm down, Kennedy replied as she started walking toward the entrance. I could hear her laughing, and I really started to get nervous. She was up to something, and I had no idea what it was. You maybe ask for it when we get inside. Taking off at a run to catch up with her. Why would I need ID to get into a store? I asked. This is a special store, Kennedy informed me through her laughter when I called up to her. Grabbing her arm, I made her turn to look at me. What is this place, and why do I need ID to get into it? What the hell are we doing? I demanded. I wasn't taking another step until she told me what the hell was going on. You are making a scene, and I am pretty sure that you are not going to want a lot of people knowing that you are here, Kennedy informed me as she pulled her arm out of my grasp. Taking a deep breath to try and keep her laughter at bay, she looked at me before continuing to the door. Turning to look at me, turning to look back at me. Are you coming? Crossing my arms across my chest and stomping my foot. Fine, I huffed out as I jogged the short distance to catch up with her. I swear you owe me for like ever. I meant every word and knew I was not going to let Kennedy off the hook anytime soon for bringing me here. Oh, stop scowling, Tessa. We are here to have a little bit of fun, Kennedy informs me as she opens the door and holds it open for me. Hesitating for just a second, I follow my best friend into the building, stopping for a second to adjust the dimness of the light that surrounds me. Most stores that I go into have bright, welcoming lights, not this place. It is almost pitch black in here. I wonder how anyone can see what they are looking at in here as I shake my head. Oh, Kennedy owed me big time for bringing her here, and I was going to start collecting with lunch as soon as we were finished. I watch Kennedy as she walks into the darkness. Stopping at the front desk, she starts chatting her girl who is behind the cash register. She starts chatting with a girl who's behind the cash register. I don't recognize her due to the dim lighting, but Kennedy seems to know her. They look like old friends catching up. I feel so out of place suddenly and contemplate turning around and going back outside to wait for Kennedy while she does whatever she is here for. Pointing in my direction, I hear Kennedy giggle and intuitively know that she is talking about me. Feeling a rush of heat from embarrassment flow through me, I shake my head as I walk toward her. Welcome to the Purple Rabbit. My name is Ronnie. Is there anything that I can help you find today? A squeaky voice calls out to me from behind the cash register. Oh, she's fine. She's with me, Kennedy informed Ronnie with a hint of an amusement in her voice. Looking around the store's showroom to be sure that we are alone. The owner is here today. He is so hot. I am always a nervous wreck when he is here. I have to make sure that I'm doing my job, Ronnie whispered loudly to Kennedy. I have heard about this mystery man. Is he really as hot as everyone says? Kennedy's excitement grew as her voice started to get louder. Shh! You're going to get me fired, Ronnie hissed. I can't afford to lose this job right now. This place is really the only place that is hiring right now. I was out of work for almost 6 months before I got hired here. I'm sorry, Candy whispered as she leaned over the counter that was separating her from Ronnie. Looking around the dimly lit room, I'll go show Tessa around and get out of your hair. Pushing off the counter and walking over toward me, Kennedy gave Ronnie a wave. Let me know if you have any questions, lady. Oh, Kennedy, make sure to check out the new string of beads that just came in. We can't keep them on the shelves, Ronnie called out to us. There are a lot of undercover freaks in this sleepy little town, Kennedy giggled back to Ronnie as she led the way deeper into the store. Following Kennedy into the racks that proudly displayed all types of items that I had never seen before, I reached out and grabbed her. You owe me big time for bringing me here. You can start with lunch when we are done here. Oh, relax and get ready to have some fun. Lunch sounds like a plan. There's something I want to talk to you about anyways. She responded with a bit of mystery in her voice as she stopped in front of a small table that had boxes set up in a pyramid across the top. Looking down, I realized that the boxes had a plastic display window that showed what looked like an extremely short strand of giant pearls. Picking up the box and looking at it, I guess I was reading the whole chapter, huh? Picking up the box and looking at it. What the hell are these? Looking around to make sure that no one was looking at us, I could feel the embarrassment engulfing me. Do you have to be so loud? Kenny said with a giggle as she picked up one of the boxes and broke out into a full belly laugh. Hi, ladies. Can I help you with anything? A familiar, smooth voice sounded from behind us. Oh, and now I am done. So, we're all big girls here, so we know where she's at, and we can only imagine who that smooth voice is. That big, tall Hershey bar. So, this book is a novella, Tessa's First Class Beads, a sex shop novella, 99 cents. So, I expect you girls and guys, if there's any guys out there anywhere, because I got a fourth one on here I'm not seeing, to go get the book, okay? So, it's by E.S. McMillan. All right. So tomorrow night, I am reading Michael James' Mirror, I think is what it's called. Right? Mirror. Or something like that. It's by Michael James. Who cares what it's about? Or what the name of it is. It's by Michael James. Just come and listen to me read it. All right, ladies. Whew. I'm out of here. My belly's full. And then my ends didn't settle with it. I gotta go stretch it out. All right, ladies. I want everybody to have a good evening. And Ebony, girlfriend, I'm gonna expect more stuff like this. That PG shit ain't gonna fly no more. I want some more Mr. Dark chocolate here, Mr. Hershey chocolate. Reminds me of a guy I used to work with. Alrighty. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. Happy reading.